Today I'm going to do something a little different. I've been thinking that you might be interested in some of the equipment I use, why I use it, the things that make it easier when I'm doing my recipes. So I'm starting an occasional series where periodically I'll talk about certain types of equipment. Now I want you to know that nobody pays me to endorse anything. So anything I talk about is something that I've done the research on, I've checked it out, I use it, and I like it. The first one we're going to do is basically going into the deep end of the pool. We're going to talk about the setup that I use for a drying chamber to do charcuterie and salumi. But before I get to the drying chamber part, I want to talk a little bit about reference material, because this is something that you really do have to have the right books in order to make sure you do it correctly. Now, if you really want to understand the science of how this works, the reactions that take place, etc., in the process and why it works and what doesn't work, then this is really the best book that I found. It's called Home Production of Quality Meats and Sausages. It's by Stanley and Adam Marianski. Now, if you really just want instructions on how to do stuff and just kind of do it and not get into all of the scientific details, there's a couple of good books that are by Michael Ruhlman and Brian Polcyn, and these are the two books. It's Salumi and Charcuterie. And I actually think the Salumi book is better, but there are some things in the Charcuterie book that are not in this one. And in any case, I really think having all three of them is really good, because there's just differences in the different things you can do, different recipes and things that are in there. So let's go downstairs now and take a look at how to set up a drying chamber so that you can do this. Hello, and I hope you'll forgive the lighting and the venue today, but I want to do a little foreshadowing on some future episodes that I'm going to do. One of the things I love to do is to cure and dry meats. Well, in order to do that, you have to have the right atmosphere for that. So you sort of need to create it. What I have here is an old refrigerator. You can get, buy some kind of refrigerator, get it from Craigslist, some used one, whatever you want it to be. And you can set this up to be your drying cave. Down here, I'm going to show you this. This is Auber Instruments TH-330. It's a temperature and humidity controller. So I can program this with a particular temperature and a particular humidity, and then the refrigerator control plugs into one side and it gets turned on and off by this device, and then the humidifier gets plugged in on the other side and it gets turned on and off by this device. So I said humidifier, so let's look inside. So here you can see inside. This is the sensor for that unit, okay? And it's taking those measurements and allowing it to control. I've got a humidifier down here on the bottom, and so you need a humidifier that has a manual control, not one that when you turn the power off, it then resets itself down to 0. You need to be able to have it turned on. And then I'll talk a little bit about this device that I have in here. But the idea behind this is that the refrigerator temperature control is set for all the way cold, and the humidifier is just set to put humidity in, to basically put some of the vapor in there, and you allow the device to control all of that. Of course, what I'm going to aim for is I really need for this process to be about 60 degrees and about 70% humidity. Now, you kind of chase that a little bit, and that's what this device is for. This device is a LASCAR EL-USB-2, and it's a temperature and humidity device that records, and then you plug it into your computer and you can get the reading. So here's an output. I did this output here, and you can see it. And so you can barely see the red line at 60 degrees. You can control the temperature very tightly. The humidity varies a little bit more. You can't control it quite that tightly, but you can get an average. When I downloaded this data, and it calculated the average humidity was 70%. So you need to play with it a little bit and give it a little flexibility. It's so easy. You turn the humidifier on, it runs too long, it overshoots. You can't, keep it narrow. So basically, this is my drying chamber, my drying and aging chamber, and I've done things as long as a prosciutto for 11 months. So in future episodes, I'm going to be curing some meats that I will then dry in here, and we'll give them a try. But I wanted to see you to see how the setup is done in order to be able to do that. So I'll see you in future episodes when we talk about specific examples of curing and drying meats, whether you call it charcuterie or you call it salumi, whatever it happens to be. So see you, and we'll play with that later.